Hi YouTube, it's Kathy and this is my weekly entertainment wrap-up for February 23rd through March 1st. This week I read 2 books, I watched 1 show, I watched 3 movies, and I listened to 1 book. First this week, because last week you might remember I watched all 4 seasons of Killing Eve, I read Codename Villanelle. This is the first in the Killing Eve book series. And let me tell you, they are different, but I completely expected that. This book has a lot of characters in it, especially for something that's only about 200 pages, but we're primarily following 2 of them. One is Villanelle, you might have been able to get that from the title of the book, and Eve, you might have been able to get that from the title of the series. Villanelle is an international assassin. She pulls off these really intricate assassinations wherever the people who are above her tell her to go, and Eve works for MI5 and she's trying to track down this female assassin who's killing people, especially when she ends up killing somebody on Eve's watch. By the end of this first book, these characters actually haven't even met on the page, although you find out in the second book, spoiler, which I'm reading right now, that maybe they've actually been in the same spaces, it just wasn't recorded in the book. What I'm finding most fun so far, because I've watched the entire TV show, is reading the book and seeing what things they decided to keep in the TV show. For example, Villanelle's backstory is completely different in the TV show. I mean, she's still an assassin, all of those types of things, but like her family structure and all of that is very different, although we do get to see a lot more of her training to become an assassin, which I did not see as much of in the show and I would have liked to see. In addition, we get to see which names and which kills they decided to keep as part of the TV show, which I find really interesting, because if somebody has written a very intricate assassination that sounds really cool, why not take it directly from the source material and put it in the TV show? I believe there are 3 books to this series and then possibly also a short story collection. I'm not entirely certain if that's actually a real thing. I'm going to read the 3 main books. I've obviously already finished this one. I'm reading the second one as an ebook right now, and I have the third one out from the library as a physical copy. Does this actually help me check off any of the goals for the things I have for like Bookish Bingo from Hell or any of the other challenges I'm doing? No, but apparently I just have to. Another book I read this week is Drama. This is a middle grade graphic novel about this girl who is in her middle school theater department doing backstage stuff, and it's all about the different things that are happening on and off stage, all of the different shenanigans. There's this boy she has a crush on, but it turns out he doesn't really like her back, and then she's trying to figure out if there's other people that maybe she has crushes on and how that situation goes. I picked this up for a couple of reasons. 1, I'm a big theater kid. I love theater. I love things that are set in theater. And 2, I found out that this one had been challenged and or banned, and I wanted to try to figure out why just by reading it. And I can tell you, I assume that it was challenged and or banned because queer people exist. Shocker. In a theater department? What? This feels especially egregious to me because it's just mentioned on page that these people are queer. Like, we don't even get any hand-holding or kissing or anything like that that I remember. Not that that's what I was going into this looking for, but you know what I mean. Like, there's nothing objectionable about these 2 middle school characters saying that they like each other. But at the very least, I can check off 1 thing on my banned books list for the 10 books I'm supposed to read this year. As for the show I watched, I continued into the 4th season of What We Do in the Shadows, just about the first half of the season, and this season is weird because we left off in a weird place in the 3rd season where all the characters were kind of scattering, and we didn't actually get to see much of that scattering. At the beginning of this season, everybody basically comes back to the home base. But of course, little things have changed here or there. There are definitely shenanigans going on, everybody's kind of got their own little side plot thing going on, and there's one character that is extra creepy to look at because this character isn't actually the character it used to be before, but it's still played by that character, but it's a completely different entity. If you've seen the show, you know exactly what I'm talking about, and I'm probably giving you nightmare fuel as I speak, and if you haven't seen the show, I haven't wrecked anything for you. Although watching this entity might wreck things for you because it's creepy. As for the movies I watched this week, for the first time in a couple of decades, I rewatched Shrek, and it definitely holds up. It's definitely a fun time. If you've somehow never seen it before, Shrek is an ogre who lives in a swamp by himself. He likes his solitude, and then all of a sudden, all of these fairy tale creatures are cast out of their own homes and come to live in his swamp, and he wants to get rid of them. So he goes to this guy who basically made that happen, is like, get them out of my swamp, and he's like, I will do that if you go pick up this princess for me because I want to marry her, because then I'll definitely get to be a king. Whereas at this point, he's basically just like decided he's the ruler, but he figures if he can marry a princess, he'll become an actual king, and that whole kettle of fish. However, when Shrek goes to pick up this princess, obviously shenanigans ensue. It's a good time. I definitely recommend it. There's some fun jokes in there that are definitely only put in for the adults, and just the use of fairy tale characters is very clever. This next movie is sort of another blast from the past, although not quite. This was Bridget Jones' Mad About the Boy. From my understanding, this is the 4th movie in the Bridget Jones Diaries series. However, I've only ever seen the first movie and this movie, and there were definitely a lot of things that happened in the 2 intervening movies that I didn't really know about. So I just kind of went into this movie kind of catching up as the movie went on, going, oh, these 2 characters got married, they have kids, this is what the life looks like now, and oh, we're led to believe one thing and it's not actually that thing. Okay. What's very, very fun about this is you can tell, even though I haven't seen the first movie since probably high school, so like I remember basically nothing about it besides obviously her writing in her diary way too many things about like, I feel fat today, even though like she is a tiny, tiny little woman, and how many cigarettes she smoked and all that type of stuff. But so many people from the original cast, and I assume the other movies, have come into this movie, which is just so delightful to see. Also, there's at least 4 cast members from Love Actually in this because, you know, it's a British movie and there are only 12 British actors. I thought this was a really great time, and it didn't really matter to me that I hadn't seen the 2nd and 3rd movies because I could kind of pick up what I needed to pick up. Also, I spent a really long time just staring at her friend group going, the guy with the long hair, why do I know that guy? And he was in the original movie, I did go and check, but I was going, why do I know that guy? And I know that guy because he's Gaius from Battlestar Galactica, but it was bothering me the entire movie. As I was trying to figure out a way to fill an evening's time, I came across this Simon Pegg movie that I had never heard of before, and it's called Kill Me 3 Times. In this one, he plays a private detective in Australia who ends up being in the middle of this really weird assassination plot that gets very, very layered. It's also told in a kind of a non-linear way towards the beginning, so we see him and then we see some things and then we go back and see those things again through slightly different lenses. And you know, it's truly an Australian movie because there's a Hemsworth in it. This is one of those plots that's full of different random happenstance and different things that you assume have happened, and then it goes back and shows it again and you see how it didn't quite happen the way you thought it did. And that definitely made it worth a watch. As for the book I listened to this week, that was Rainbow Milk. This one as an audiobook is fantastic because the author, I believe, is also the book narrator, and there are tons of different accents just by the way of the characters of this book. And I'm not an expert in accents, but I feel like he did a very, very good job. This one starts out following a character who has recently moved from Jamaica to the UK in the 1950s with his wife. They've set up a home for themselves. It talks about the different jobs that he's had while he's there and the different attitudes of people in the UK towards his black family. And then we kind of leave off in a very abrupt place, and suddenly we're thrust forward until about 2001, and we're following a different character named Jesse, whose family are Jehovah's Witnesses. His mother actually told him that his dad died when he was fairly young, and she has since remarried to this guy who was a Jehovah's Witness, so she became a Jehovah's Witness. And he has 2 younger half-sisters, and they are treated way better than he is treated. He does his absolute best to try to do everything completely right, so maybe his parents will love him, but I just don't think they're very good people. In addition to that, it also ends up that he is queer, and once that comes out to his community, he ends up leaving, and the book goes in a completely different direction from there. Now, obviously, these 2 characters are connected. I figured out how they were connected, but they're also connected in an even more intricate way that I didn't see when it was first introduced. So this book, in short, is kind of brilliant, and I highly recommend it. That's it for this week. If you've read, watched, or listened to any of these, let me know about it down in the comments below. On the way down to the comments, if you hit that subscribe button, that would be very nice of you. If you don't feel like leaving a comment but want to make sure that I know you were here, just leave me an emoji or a smiley face if you happen to be on your keyboard. Some people have asked if there's a way to financially support this channel, so I set up a Ko-fi account, which is a digital tipping service. The link for that, as always, is down below. You can like and share this as you see fit, and I will see you very soon. Bye!